Well, thank you for agreeing to come back and have a chat with our Ripples of Success interview.
Thank you for having me. It's a big honor to be on your show.
Oh, well, thank you. We love to chat with people who have decided that they want to make a change in the world and they go out and do what they do best and things just ripple out from there. So why don't you start by telling us what is the thing you love to do most? What creates the biggest ripples?
Working with executives and organizations to help to develop their emotional intelligence.
Love it. I know we talked a little bit about emotional intelligence before, and I would love for you, because I loved your explanation. Tell us what, for you, because it's such a big topic and people throw it around, but they don't always have the same understanding of it. What is emotional intelligence for you and why does it matter?
Emotional intelligence is the ability to feel fear and move through it towards what we're trying to achieve, as opposed to allowing that fear to keep us trapped in our comfort zone. And why it's really important now is we're facing a tsunami of accelerating change. And we've got a 500 million year old brain that doesn't like change. So we really need to be working to develop our emotional intelligence to enable us to deal with the drama, chaos, and conflict that change often generates in us.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Karen Cullicutt and I have just put our book out. It's about navigating change. And one of the biggest things our readers tell us is that they had no idea that it was a process. They had no idea what was actually happening to them. And so they find all these other reasons to explain why they're feeling a certain way or why they're acting a certain way. And what do you think keeps people trapped in the fear? Like, what is it about not having as much emotional intelligence that keeps them trapped?
It's their ego-based fear, and it's habits that they've developed, that we've all developed, that cause us to give away our energy.
Right.
And we do it in a myriad of ways. Examples of how we communicate and listen and take responsibility and make decisions. Um, when we give away our energy unconsciously, it creates an energy deficit in us.
Mhm.
So that at the same time we're giving away our energy, we're also trying to steal energy from other people unconsciously, for the most part, in order to make up for the energy we're unconsciously giving away to others. So that's really the root cause of all drama, chaos, and conflict. And the development of our emotional intelligence um, helps us to not do that. So when we stop giving away our energy to others, our need to steal the energy of others goes away because we don't need it. And in that process of developing those habits, we actually increase our awareness, we become more inspirational leaders, and we develop our emotional intelligence. And the challenge really, there are several challenges, but as you alluded to, we don't know what we don't know. Um, and the only way we can know what we don't know, you can only connect the dots in hindsight. So that the journey to emotional intelligence always begins with a leap of faith, usually brought on by an urgent desire for better results than they're currently getting.
Something's on the line, right?
Yep,
Something's
yep.
on the line. Yeah, the willingness to um, leave the pain of not changing behind and surrendering into whatever that just has to be better.
Yeah, we need to develop an emotional connection with a desired result that's stronger than our fear.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have like a favorite client in mind that you can talk about that journey that they went on from when they were in that place of fear, how they interacted with the people they led, and how moving into a place where they had their own energy and how that changed for them?
Yeah, the all of them. Um,
Well, pick one for me.
we all have those kinds of stories. Um, oh, one that comes to mind is an executive that developed some habits from childhood that caused him to be a perfectionist,
Mm,
feel that as a way of overachieving, a way of fitting in, kind of a way of earning his place at the table, he felt that he needed to be perfect. And that created a lot of walls, a lot of drama and chaos, and really got in the way of it, blinded him to a better path to better results. And he and I have been working together for some time now, and he's continually amazed at how those unconscious stories were holding him back from being who he truly is.
how shocked was he when some of those beliefs, when he realized they weren't actually true?
Very. Um, and it's like that for everybody. Um, when the lights start to come on, that the lights coming out of that awareness is a result of the emotional labor he was doing to stop giving away his energy.
Right.
Um, and that's a challenging process. But as you continue to get better and better at that, as you continue to move towards mastery of that, um, the awareness grows. The awareness keeps getting deeper and deeper, um, and we become less resistive, less judgmental, less attached to outcome. So it's the results actually, as you go on this journey, the results actually increase exponentially over time.
I'd imagine, yeah. I have a question for you that I'm really interested in your opinion on. I've done a lot of reading and people talking about servant leadership. And some people do it in a way that is all about giving their energy away till there's like nothing left. And then there are other servant leaders that are empowering themselves and others. So they're there for their people and lifting them up. It's they use the same word, but they're not the same thing. Do you want to comment on that?
Yes. The first example is what I would is somebody behaving like a victim, unconsciously giving away their energy and trying to control and manipulate others to steal their energy. It's like you owe me.
Right.
I'm going to do this, but you owe me. That's not leadership.
No.
That's manipulation. That's control. The second example that you mentioned is leadership. It's leadership when you're learning to lower your walls and stop giving away your energy. When you stop giving away your energy to others, you stop trying to control and manipulate others. So, leadership, servant warrior leadership, is there's a battle. I wrote a book about it. I don't know if you can read it, but it's called The Servant Warrior Leader.
Nice.
Um, and there's a battle going on for sure, but it's an internal battle within us. It's not an external battle. Um, and it's a battle to be able to coexist with our fear and move through our fear towards what it is we're trying to achieve, as opposed to allowing our fear to control us. The development of emotional intelligence doesn't eliminate fear, it allows us to coexist with our fear.
Right. Creating awareness of it before we even respond, right?
Yep.
So the other thing we had a cool little chat about last time we talked was about the gap, right? The stimulus and response. I think our listeners would love to hear your explanation of that.
Yeah. One of the first questions I ask people that I'm about to work with is, what do you want? Because when somebody tells you what they want, they're also telling you what they don't have. And the bigger the gap between where they are versus where they want to be, the more motivated they are to do the emotional labor of closing that gap, of looking for a solution to close that gap. And that motivation is really the fuel for the journey. Without that, without that motivation, um, you're not going to be willing to do the work that change requires of us.
Right.
And there's only two sources of motivation. There's only two things that will cause us to leave our comfort zone. One is pain, the other one is passion. And most of the people I begin working with, their motivation is based on pain. They want to get away from the pain, whatever it is. But in the journey, in the process, their motivation begins to shift from a motivation based on pain to a motivation based on passion. It shifts from wanting to get away from something to wanting to move towards something.
Nice. And how long do you normally find that that takes for people?
Oh boy, that's a good question. It varies. It's there's no one size fits all because we're all different, we're all unique, and we all have uh, the challenges, the perceptions, the behavior, the paradigm that's holding us back. So there is no one size fits all. Some some there's an executive I'm working with in Africa right now that's um, doing amazingly well in a relatively short period of time. There are other executives I've worked with for years that they're becoming more and more conscious, but at their own rate. So
Right.
it's completely individual.
How much do you think that the the people that we surround ourselves with impacts the speed of building our emotional intelligence?
A lot. Our environment. It's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked it. Um, there's something called emotional contagion. The energy or emotions we surround ourselves with has an effect of either raising our walls or lowering our walls, called emotional contagion.
I'm writing that down.
Yes. Yeah. Um, but what you'll find, so when our walls are up, that's a great question. When our walls are up, we need to surround ourselves with other people that have their walls up because they're each other's negative energy food. They're feeding off of each other, but they don't like each other. They don't trust each other, and they can never lower their walls around each other. But so there's a codependent relationship there. But as people begin to develop their emotional intelligence, um, the people that they tend to attract into their life change, and they tend to inspire and begin surrounding themselves with more emotionally intelligent coworkers, clients, partners, friends, and their results start to get better at a remarkable rate.
Nice. I love that. We find that in our community here. People get here and they're just like, oh my goodness, look at the conversations we're having. Look at the vulnerability people are willing to engage in because they feel safe in and of themselves. They don't need other people to make them feel safe.
Yep, that's a good example of emotional intelligence. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. Vulnerability comes from the willingness to lower our walls and
Right.
be who we truly are.
So good. What is the difference for employees when an executive comes in and goes all in with you, Phil? What happens to the staff? What happens to the team that those executives are leading?
They're inspired to follow that direction, or they leave the organization.
Ah,
So that the people that are unwilling to challenge themselves to change need to be around other people that are unwilling to change. They need to be around, they need to have those codependent relationships.
Right.
So as more and more people begin working on their level of emotional intelligence, the organization begins to self-correct. The drama, chaos, and conflict begins to become less and less. And it actually forces people to either learn to stop giving away their energy, or they will leave the organization for a more chaotic environment.
Better feeding grounds.
Better feeding grounds.
Phil, what's your favorite testimonial you've ever received?
Somebody asked me this the other day, and I'll tell you, the best testimonial I've ever received came some years ago from somebody I never even coached. I coached his son, who was an executive in a large global organization. And a matter of fact, I've been coaching his son for the last 12 years. And his dad was not in great health, and unfortunately is no longer with us. But he said to him, he said, "I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because I like it. I like the changes I'm seeing in you."
Oh,
And they had a closer relationship than maybe they've ever had.
oh, that's such evidence when it can get reflected back to someone who's doing the work.
Yeah.
I love that. So last question, what really important piece of wisdom do you want our listeners to hear?
The most important thing I can wish for is that people begin the development of their emotional intelligence and try to understand the value and importance of making that investment in themselves. We're facing a tsunami of change that is going to create unprecedented levels of drama, chaos, and conflict in the world. And the development of our emotional intelligence is a root cause solution. It's essential to our being able to navigate through the accelerating rate of change we're in. So I would really try to encourage people to get on this path. It's going to become fundamental as we move forward. And the sooner they begin the development of their emotional intelligence, the better off we'll all be.
I love it. Thank you, Phil Johnson. I'm so pleased you're able to come with us. The Ripples of Success is, you're absolutely the right person to invite.
Thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure being on your show.